A recent survey shows that the average person earning six figures reports the same level of financial stress as someone earning half that amount. Think about that for a second. One person makes $100,000 and another makes $50,000. Yet, their daily money worries are nearly identical. It is not a small gap at all. It is exactly the same. This proves that something is deeply broken in the way we think about income. We are taught that a bigger paycheck solves everything, but the data tells a completely different story. Conventional wisdom always tells us the same simple rule: make more money and you will live a better life. We work hard, chase promotions, and wait for that next big raise. But there is a major crack in this logic. Look around, and you will see plenty of six-figure earners who feel exactly as stuck today as they did many years ago. The real dynamic is something most people completely miss. Your life does not actually upgrade every time your paycheck gets a little bigger. Instead, true progress only happens when you cross into a whole new level of security, and in reality, there are only 5 of these levels. After years of studying how people manage their money, I have seen exactly how these stages work. If you want to break out of the cycle, you need to find out which level you are actually on right now. It makes total sense why we believe that more income equals more freedom. It is an intuitive idea, and it is exactly what every raise and promotion promises us. When you get that extra money, you naturally assume you are buying yourself more choices, less stress, and a safer future. It feels like a simple math problem. More dollars coming in should mean fewer problems keeping you awake at night. We are practically trained to view our salaries as a direct scorecard for our freedom. But this is exactly where the big contradiction hides. Imagine 2 people who make the exact same amount of money every single year. On paper, they look identical. However, they can be living on completely different levels of financial security. The first person might use their income to buy things that trap them, like a massive car payment or a heavy credit card balance. The second person might use that same amount of money to buy back their time, build a safety net, or invest in their future. Even though their paychecks are the same, one person is constantly stressed, while the other feels completely safe. This is why we have to change the way we look at our money. Income is not the real measure of your financial success. It never has been. The true measure is leverage. Leverage is all about what your income is actually doing for you behind the scenes. It is the difference between working hard for every single dollar and making your dollars work hard for you. When you focus only on the size of your paycheck, you are missing the bigger picture. A high income without leverage is just a fancy treadmill that you can never stop running on. True progress only starts when you stop chasing a higher number and start building real control over the money you already have. To understand how this works, we have to look at a concept I call the invisible rung. A rung is a step on a ladder, but this specific step is one that most people never see. You only cross into a new level of financial security when your money starts solving a whole new category of problem it could not solve before. It does not happen just because the number on your paycheck rises. For example, moving up means your money stops just paying for today's food and starts protecting you from tomorrow's emergencies. If your higher pay is not solving a deeper problem, you are still standing on the exact same step. Most people never notice this invisible rung because of a very common trap. As soon as their income climbs, their lifestyle spending climbs at the exact same pace. When you get a raise, it is easy to instantly buy a nicer car, move into a bigger apartment, or eat out at expensive restaurants more often. This extra spending completely masks the transition you were supposed to make. Your paycheck went up, but your daily stress stayed exactly the same because you spent the difference. Because the spending matches the earning, the ladder remains hidden. You might feel richer because you have nicer things, but you have not actually moved up to a safer level. You are just running faster on that same treadmill. To cross the invisible rung, you have to consciously choose to use your new income for freedom rather than just more stuff. To see this clearly, imagine a very strange staircase. Picture yourself standing at the bottom and you begin to walk up the steps. You are putting in real effort and your legs are doing actual work. But there is a huge catch. This entire staircase is built inside a moving elevator shaft. Every single time you take a step upward, the elevator shaft moves upward at the exact same speed. You keep climbing step after step, thinking you are getting higher and higher. But if you look at the walls around you, you realize you have not actually changed your position at all. You are stuck in the exact same spot relative to the shaft. This is exactly what happens to your life when your paycheck grows. You work hard for a raise, which is like taking a real step up the stairs. You feel like you are moving forward. But the moment you get that extra money, your bills, your rent, and your daily spending all rise at the exact same speed. You are moving your feet, but you are not actually getting any closer to the top of the building. That is lifestyle inflation neutralizing income growth in real time. It feels like progress because you are doing the hard work, but the environment around you changes to keep you trapped in place. If you want to actually get higher, you have to find a way to make the elevator shaft stop moving. You cannot just climb faster because the shaft will only speed up to match you. You have to change the rules of the game so that your steps actually count toward your freedom. The 5 levels of money show us exactly where we stand. The first level is survival, where you live paycheck to paycheck, and a simple $1,000 emergency would completely ruin your budget. Next is stability. At this stage, you finally have enough savings to absorb that sudden shock without any panic. The third level is optionality. Here, you have enough cash in the bank to walk away from a bad job and live comfortably for months while you look for a better one. After that comes leverage, where your money starts earning its own money through investments. Finally, you reach freedom, where your investments pay for your entire lifestyle and you never have to trade your time for a paycheck again. To see this clearly, imagine 2 people who both earn $100,000 a year. On the outside, they look identical. However, the first person is stuck on the lower levels because of heavy fixed obligations. They have a massive car loan, a huge mortgage, and high credit card bills. Most of their paycheck is gone before they even get it. The second person has the exact same income but sits on the leverage level. They kept their bills low and used their extra cash to buy things that grow in value. If we track them on a compounding timeline over 10 or 20 years, the gap between them becomes mind-blowing. In the first 5 years, they might look like they are in the same place. But by year 10, the second person's investments are quietly making thousands of dollars on their own. By year 20, that compounding growth completely replaces their job income, launching them into true freedom. Meanwhile, the first person is still trapped on the exact same treadmill, working just as hard to pay for things they bought years ago. Your level is never about the raw number on your paycheck. It is about what that money structurally changes for your life. To see how this plays out in real life, let us look at David and Sandra. 10 years ago, they started working at the same company, earning the exact same entry-level salary. They were both smart, ambitious, and determined to build a great future. David wanted to enjoy his success right away. Every single time he got a promotion and a raise, he immediately upgraded his lifestyle. When his paycheck went up, he moved into a bigger apartment in a nicer part of town. When he got another raise, he traded his reliable older car for a brand new luxury vehicle with a steep monthly payment. To the outside world, David was doing amazing. He had a nice car, a nice apartment, and fancy clothes. If you asked him, he would smile and tell you, "I'm fine." He honestly believed he was winning. But behind the scenes, David was stuck on the stability level for a whole decade. His bills grew just as fast as his income, leaving him with no extra money at the end of the month. Structurally, he was no more flexible than he was 10 years ago. If he lost his job, his lifestyle would vanish in a matter of weeks. Sandra chose a completely different path. Every time she got a raise, she held her lifestyle constant. She stayed in her modest apartment and kept driving her old car. Instead of spending her extra money, she used it to push herself up the financial ladder. Each raise became a tool to buy back her freedom. First, She built a massive emergency fund. Then she started investing every extra dollar into things that grow over time. Over 10 years, the emotional difference between them became massive. David felt a quiet, constant stress. He could never take a risk, take a long vacation, or speak up at work because he absolutely needed his next paycheck to pay for his expensive life. He was trapped by his own success. Meanwhile, Sandra felt completely light and free. By holding her expenses steady, her growing investments began making enough money to cover her basic bills. She had reached the optionality level and was moving quickly toward leverage. She had the power to walk away from her job at any moment or take a major risk on a new business idea. David had a lot of nice stuff, but Sandra owned the one thing that actually matters: her time. To understand why David fell into this trap, we have to look at how our brains are wired. There is a specific mechanism at play here that psychologists call hedonic adaptation, combined with our natural desire for status signaling. In simple terms, hedonic adaptation means that whenever something good happens to us, like getting a big raise, we get a quick burst of happiness, but we quickly get used to it. The new, higher income becomes our normal baseline. At the same time, status signaling makes us want to show the world that we are doing well by buying nice things that others can see. Because of this, each raise feels like an automatic permission slip to spend more money, rather than a golden opportunity to bank real leverage. We tell ourselves that we earn the right to buy a nicer watch, a newer car, or a bigger house. We view the extra money as a reward to be enjoyed today, instead of a tool to protect our tomorrow. But it is very important to realize that this is not a personal weakness. You should not feel ashamed if you have fallen into this cycle, because it is exactly what our society is engineered to produce. Every commercial you see, every social media post you scroll past, and even the promotions at your job are designed to make you spend. The marketing around us constantly screams that success means buying more things. When everyone around you is upgrading their lives, social comparison makes you feel like you are falling behind if you do not do the same. The problem is entirely structural, not a personal failure. The system is set up to keep you on the treadmill, trading your time for income, and then immediately trading that income for liabilities. Once you recognize that these psychological forces are actively working against you, you can stop blaming yourself. You can finally see the trap for what it is and start making conscious choices to break free from it. When you understand the hidden rules of money, you realize that most people are playing the wrong game. The person who spends all their energy chasing a bigger number on their paycheck is optimizing the wrong variable. They think that a higher salary automatically leads to a better life, but they are just making their treadmill spin faster. On the other hand, the person who tracks which level of financial security they are actually on is optimizing the only variable that matters. It is entirely possible for two people to have the exact same income today, but end up on a completely different trajectory tomorrow. One person uses their income to buy things that lose value and create heavy bills, while the other uses that exact same income to buy back their time and build real leverage. Over time, the first person remains trapped in place, while the second person climbs quietly toward total independence. This completely flips normal financial advice on its head. You do not need a massive fortune to start feeling secure. You just need to change what your current money is doing for you. Your paycheck tells you how hard you work, but your financial level tells you how free you are. If you focus only on the raw numbers, you will always be at the mercy of your next paycheck. True wealth is not about how much money you make. It is about how much control you have over your life. Once you shift your focus from chasing a higher salary to crossing the next invisible rung, the entire game changes. You stop trying to impress other people with fancy things and start focusing on the one thing that actually has value. By measuring your progress by your level of freedom rather than the size of your paycheck, you ensure that every extra dollar you earn actually counts toward building a life you truly own. To break free from the treadmill, you must take real action. The first step is to calculate your actual fixed obligations versus your total income. Fixed obligations are the bills you absolutely must pay every month, like rent, car payments, and insurance. By comparing these heavy expenses to what you bring home, you will find your real financial level, not just your salary level. You might discover that even though your salary is high, your fixed costs are trapping you on the lowest level. Knowing your true starting point is the only way to build a real escape plan. Next, look back at your past promotions and identify the one lifestyle expense that expanded the most with your last raise. It might be eating out at expensive restaurants, buying fancy clothes, or paying for subscriptions you barely use. Once you spot it, freeze it at its current cost. You do not have to live in total misery, but you must draw a line in the sand. By stopping this single expense from growing any larger, you prevent lifestyle inflation from secretly stealing your future progress. When your next raise or bonus arrives, you must handle it differently. Instead of spending it, redirect that extra money entirely into whatever moves you toward the next level's threshold. If you are on the survival level, put every new dollar into a buffer fund until you can absorb a $1,000 shock. If you are on the stability level, use the extra cash for debt elimination or to buy income-producing assets that grow over time. By doing this, you ensure that your hard work actually buys you a higher step on the ladder. Ultimately, this shift is about your identity, not just temporary motivation. You are not trying to become someone who merely earns more money just to spend it on bigger liabilities. Instead, you are becoming someone who is much harder to knock down. When you focus on building leverage rather than just chasing a higher salary, you create a life that cannot be easily shaken by a sudden emergency or a bad boss. You are shifting from a person who shows off wealth to a person who actually owns their time and freedom.